that we're going to be solving is find the shortest distance between skew lines. Line 1 would be x equals t, y equals 1 minus t, z equals 2 plus t. And line 2, x equals 3 minus s, y equals -1 plus 2s, and z equals 4 minus s.
That is to write the two equations in vector form. So for line 1, x, y, z is equal to 0, 1, 2 plus t times 1, -1, 1. And then line 2 is x, y, z is equal to 3, -1, 4 plus s times -1, 2, -1. And then we have to find the cross product between the two directional vectors to see to find a perpendicular vectors to both of those vectors. So the vector that you end up with after you find the cross product is -1, 0, and 1.
So we're going to let point A be on line 1 and point B be on line 2 so we can find the distance that is parallel to this vector here that we have the direction vector of. So to find point A, we're going to use what we have in this equation to get the x component. And from this equation we know that x would be equal to t. So our first value for the x coordinate is t. The second value, our y coordinate, is 1 minus t. And the third value, our z coordinate, is 2 plus t. Then you get point B, which you find similarly using these from the second line, and you get 3 minus s, -1 plus 2s, and 4 minus s. And so now we're going to find vector AB, which is going to be parallel to this direction vector that we found using the cross product. Vector AB, which we'll find subtracting the b coordinates from the a coordinates, is 3 minus s minus t, -2 plus 2s minus t, plus t, and 2 minus s minus t. Now that we have this and this, we know that AB is parallel to -1, 0, 1, this vector. So since it's parallel, we know that AB is equal to the scalar k times the vector. So we can equate these to find k and get 3 sets of equations to solve for the time. Okay, so we have our vector AB is 3 minus s minus t, -2 plus 2s plus t, and 2 minus s minus t. It's going to equal k of -1, 0, and 1. So using this, we can get 3 equations, which would be 3 minus s and 2 minus s minus t is equal to k. So when we look at these equations, if we use this one and this one, the x and the z, you can cancel out the k. So 3 minus s minus t is equal to -k. 2 minus s minus t is equal to k. So when we add these vectors, you get 5 minus 2s minus 2t is equal to 0. Using this equation and the y equation that we get from here, you get -2 plus 2s plus t, that's the y equation, and this was the x plus z. We can cancel out the 2s when we add. So then you get 3 minus t equals 0. Now that you have 3 minus t equals 0, you know that t is equal to 3. Using this value, we can substitute it back into either of these equations. So let's just go 5 minus 2s minus 2 times 3 is equal to 0. So then that's 5 minus 6, which is -1. So -2s minus 1 is 0. 2s is equal to 1, negative 2s is equal to 1, s is equal to negative half.
Now that we have our t and our s values over here, we're going to plug it back into this vector to figure out what the actual numerical values are for it. So I have 3 minus negative 1/2 minus 3 for my first one, and I have negative 2 plus 2 parentheses negative 1/2 plus 3, and then I have 2 minus negative 1/2 again, and then minus 3. So I'm going to take these double negatives, I'm going to positive now, and then right here, another positive, so that it'll just simplify my arithmetic. And then I have 1/2, 0, 3, minus 3. So this is a minus 3 right here, plus 3. So then I have 0 for my second value, and then I have 2 1/2 minus 3. So I have negative 1/2 for my z in my new vector. So x, y, z is equal to this. So this is vector AB. Now, the question is asking for the distance between these skew lines. Now that I have my vector, I can figure out the magnitude of this to determine what the distance is. So I'm going to just use the formula for finding the magnitude. And so I'll need to take my 1/2, square that, and then since 0 squared is still 0, then I'll also add another 1/2 squared for my z. And so that equals 1/4 plus 1/4, which is equal to square root of 1/2. So what I can do is I can simplify this so that I can get rid of my radical in the denominator and rationalize it. So I have 2 root 2 over 2. So then our final answer is going to be root 2